wasn't ready.
Oh, my lights aren't even on. That's sad. Yay! Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with week 3 of the Magical Readathon. That was 6. 3. So it's Saturday, it's actually technically well into the afternoon, but I got up relatively early today because tomorrow is Easter, but on Sundays I usually do yoga with my mom, and because tomorrow's Easter and we're probably going to do some things, we decided to do it today. So we did yoga this morning and then I sat and talked to my parents for like 3 hours, which is usually what happens. So I'm now officially starting this vlog. I haven't really done a whole lot. I've done 0 reading today. What am I talking about? But I thought I'd kind of officially start this vlog. I had great plans today. I was going to like do a bunch of recording and reading, and like I need to bulk up on my reels for Instagram. If you're not following me, you should, because I really enjoy doing reels over there. And so I've officially gotten through all of the ones in my draft folder, so I need to bulk up on some of those. But it's kind of gross outside, so we might do that later. I'm not sure. But I wanted to tell you the books that I'm bringing over into this week. As with last week, I haven't touched Dial A for Aunties, but I do have full intentions of getting to this one this week. The entire week I'm in the office, so I will have a lot of audiobook listening to, like I'll have a lot of time to do like audiobook listening, so I have full intentions of getting through this one. Maybe not right away, it might be like one of the books later in the week, but I will finish this one. And then I also have the Magic Misfits, the second one, that I need to read. I haven't done anything since the last vlog, so I'm like 46 pages into this book, and this is going to be my top priority. I have the audiobook from my library that's due in a few days, so I'm going to be working on this one. This one is for one of the careers that I could never pronounce, but it's not one that's required, but it is like something with an earth setting, so I will be reading that one. And then Dial A for Aunties is required for my career. I don't remember what the class is, but it's sort of like source of light on the cover, and there's a chandelier, so this one is required for my career. The other one is not. And then I did start an ARC last night that I need to read this week, but obviously it's an ARC, so I have it like physically. I don't have any audio, but it would fit for one of the side adventures because there's one that's like an author that you've never read from before. So I'll mention it here and I'll keep it in if I've actually finished it. But that is A Daughter of the Trolls, and this is by Mackenzie Katron. This is the first in a new series by her. It comes out on the 21st, which is Thursday. So I really need to finish it before Thursday, but it's super short. It's only like 240 pages, and the chapters seem really short. And I read the first chapter, so I'm like 12 pages into it last night, and I'm already kind of hooked. I'm very interested to see where we could go from here. But this one follows, I should have told you what all these were about, and I did not. Well, this one follows our main character Sparrow, who is human, and she lives in this place called the Glade, and it's basically a collection of a bunch of different magical creatures. And so there's trolls and imps and brownies and things like that, and there's this terrible evil witch called Black Annis, A-N-N-I-S, who could possibly come do terrible things. And so it's her, and something bad happens, and she ends up having to go on this adventure with one of her friends, Rush, who is a half-goblin, and figure stuff out. But Sparrow has a heart condition, so she's in a wheelchair, and so she has to go through like the forest that's not wheelchair accessible. And I'm curious to see how it's going to go because the author is wheelchair bound herself, so this is own voices, and I just find this idea fascinating. And I was on her street team for her cover reveal, so I really want to get to this one because I was very graciously gifted an ARC, so I need to get to this one. So I'm hoping to do that, which is why I'm mentioning it here. Magic Misfits I've talked a little bit about, but it's this group of 6 friends who like sleight of hand magic and stuff, and I don't really know the plot of this one because it hasn't really gotten started yet, but I think a fortune teller is involved in some way. And then Dial A for Aunties, we have our main character Madeline, who goes on a blind date and accidentally kills her blind date, and she has 4 aunts that help her out, and then this body ends up showing up at a wedding. Craziness. So those are the three, mainly two, but also this one that I'm bringing over from last week. So I'm starving, so I'm gonna go make lunch for the hubby and I. I'm making grilled cheese sandwiches, and I'm very excited about it. So we'll go do that, and then I'll read some. I'll take you along. I don't really know what the day holds. I was gonna run errands, but I really don't want to do that either. So I have no idea what this day's gonna be. It might be a lazy day. It might not. We'll see. Hello. It's been quite a while since I talked to you last. This week, it was a full work week, so very little vlogging occurred. But I don't even know what this video turned out to be, so I hope it was okay. But I have many updates for you. Oh, so buckle in, because we're gonna be here for a hot second. I was able to finish 3 books this week. I'm kind of just gonna wrap up the week now because it's Friday, and the rest of the day is going to be editing this video, and like when my husband comes home, we'll probably watch a movie or something, so I'm not sure how much reading's actually gonna get done. So that's the rest of tonight. So I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap up here, but I do want to tell you what I accomplished. So I was able to read 3 books, and I've made decent progress in the 4th one that I can bring over to next week. So the first one that I finished was the second Magic Misfits. We picked up a 3rd Magic Misfits this week, so my brain short-circuited. I forgot what I was talking about. So the second Magic Misfits is the first one that I accomplished, and this one was for the class I cannot pronounce. I know I've said it before, but it's Artificiary, which is an Earth setting. This was also my middle grade for the month, or at least one of them. I've got another one planned, so we'll see if I get around to that one. But I ended up giving this one 4 stars, I think. It was quite cute. I mean, it's a good, you know, mystery middle grade that surrounds sleight of hand magic, so it's not like, you know, someone has magical powers. It's more of like each kid in this friend group is good at something. So like our main character from the last book, Carter, he's good at sleight of hand. We've got a couple of siblings who are really good at like entertainment. We've got this other kid over here named Theo who is really good at like levitation magic. And then our main character that we followed in this one, Leia, she's good at breaking out of things. So straitjackets, that kinds of thing. So this book primarily follows this friend group that was created in the first one, after the events of the first one. So it does, I mean, it doesn't really spoil the events of the first book, but it spoils how it ended, I guess. And it continues on with the connection from said events from the first book. And I've noticed that each book, now that we picked up the third one, each book is from a different perspective. So the first one is from Carter's perspective, and this one is from Leia's perspective, or Leah's perspective. I think it's Leia's perspective. And the third one is from Theo's perspective, which is the levitation guy. And then the fourth one is Ridley. And oh, I forgot to tell you what her powers were. I can't remember what she's good at. She's good at something. Oh, science-y. She's like a mad scientist kind of person. So she's like transformations and things like that. So it's these 4 that have a perspective. So in this one we have a fortune teller that shows up. Her name is Sandra, and she's an old friend of Leia's father's. And Leia and Carter are kind of cousins, so they're both living with Leia's father, adoptive fathers, and it follows her backstory a little bit as to how she got with her dads, and really just the Sandra coming in and putting a spin on everything. So quite fun. It didn't really get started until about halfway, so I think I would have enjoyed this if I had read it like right after the first one, because I had to readjust to the characters. And I mean, like, they do a very good job of, at the very beginning, reminding you who all of these characters are and kind of a little bit what happens in the first one, so you're not going in like confused, but it just took a while to get into the story. So like I said, about halfway through is when I really got invested, and then the end was like action-packed. I loved the twists and turns of it. There's like this reveal, and then there isn't a reveal, and then there is a reveal. It's like a whole thing, and I really liked seeing that. And I'm curious, you know, what the next book's gonna say. So I very much enjoyed it. It's not my favorite thing I've ever read. I still have, you know, some feelings of boredness at the beginning, but 4 stars, really enjoyed it. So wasn't required for my career, but I made it fit because I really wanted to read this book. So I read that one. And then I decided, like randomly, I was like, I'm in the mood for historical romance. So I picked up Love Only Once, which is the first in the Mallory series, and it was also required. It was in here, hold on, I'm trying to remember what it was in here for. Oh, it was in here for Animal Studies, which was a quick read. I can get through historical romances in like 1 or 2 days, so I got through this one really quickly. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It's not my favorite Mallory story, and it's the first in the series. I mean, the second one, Tinder Rebel, is still my favorite up to this point. I mean, I've only read the first 2 and then the 6th one, which was like a Christmas story. But I adore Anthony, who is the main character, main male love interest in the second book, and he is the loving uncle in this one. So he plays a big role in this one, so I love seeing him in this role. We get hints to this book in the second one, so it was nice to see the story kind of play out. I loved Regina. So Regina's our main character. Did I even tell you what this is about? I did not. So this follows Regina, but she goes by Reggie, and her mom has 4 brothers, but her mom died when she was super, super young, so her 4 uncles basically have like been in charge of her as she grows up, and Anthony's her favorite, and so she kind of gets passed around from home to home, and she's been in London trying to find a husband, but there's always a problem with them. Like, she'll bring, like, there's a guy that she's like, oh, I could see myself married to him, and so she'll bring the idea of him to her uncles, and one of them will have an issue. So she's tired of basically saying no to a bunch of guys. They kind of call her, like, the shrew in town, because she's, like, rejected so many guys, and it's not even her who's rejecting them, it's her uncles who are saying they're not good enough for you. And so she basically comes to her uncle and is like, the four of you decide who I'm gonna marry, and that's who I'm gonna marry. I don't want to do this anymore. And then, due to misadventures, there's this guy named Nicholas who basically kidnaps Reggie, thinking that she's somebody else, realizes his mistake, but they've already been kind of seen together, so it's kind of, they're forced to be together. Now, there is a trope in this book that is not, like, very much not a booktube favorite or bookstagram favorite that I've seen. I don't want to say it because it's a huge spoiler, but there's definitely a trope in here that a lot of people don't like. I personally try to steer away from those, but I didn't know it was coming, so I haven't read that many of them, so I didn't hate it too much in this book, but it wasn't my favorite, and honestly, I was just mostly bored. Like, most of this book, it's follows Regina and Nick, who spend the entire book yelling at each other and not, like, talking about their feelings, basically, and so they keep, like, pushing down the feelings they have for each other. That's what they spend the entire book doing, is, like, basically saying, I don't have feelings for you, how could I have feelings for you, I'm mad at you for X, Y, and Z reason, even though they definitely still have, you know, feelings for each other. And so there's a lot of scenes where, like, they're not even in the same area, and so I was like, this is just kind of, it's just kind of boring. So the end I really enjoyed, because it was more action-packed. Honestly, at the beginning and the end were my favorite parts, because there was more action, there was more banter, because when Reggie and Nick are in the same place, their banter is so funny, and I love it, but it's not a huge portion of the plot. Now, I will say Reggie's a Spitfire, and I love her. She is one of my favorite characters I've read about. Like, if you like that strong-willed main character who's gonna speak her mind and gonna stand up for the way she believes, this is your character. You're gonna love her. So it was really interesting to dive into the first one of these. I'm excited to start the third one, though, because out of what I've read of the first two so far, my two favorite uncles are Anthony and James, and I've already read Anthony's story, and James's is the third one. And that's more like piratey. We're going to go on a ship, so I'm interested about that. And then I'm curious to see how this, you know, series continues, because there's only 4 siblings. I mean, 5 if you included Reggie's mom, but her mom's no longer alive, so 4 siblings. One of them, I think, is already married at this point. And so, like, we've got to extend it beyond just the Mallorys. And I know that eventually this series went from the Mallory series to the Mallory Anderson series, so I'm curious. I really just need, like, a family tree. I think one of these books has a family tree in it somewhere, and I need that. It's not in this one, but, like, I need that because I need to, like, figure out who these people are. But I really love Joanna Lindsay's writing, so I'm very excited to continue, even though Nick wasn't my favorite. I think Nick was the issue. I liked Reggie, but Nick was an issue, and there was nothing against him. Like, he didn't go out of his way. Like, he didn't do anything that made me feel icky about him, but I just didn't like him, I guess. So, that was a long, rambly way to say I enjoyed parts of this story, but not all of it. So this one ended up getting 3. Co-Palace has 3.5, but I'm just gonna go ahead and give it 3. And then I actually was able to finish the arc that I needed to read. So I finished Daughter of the Trolls by Mackenzie Katron. It came out yesterday. Sorry, I'm trying to move myself and everything is shaking because you're touching my desk. So this one came out yesterday. I do have a review of it, so if you want to check it out, I'll leave my Goodreads review down below. This is a kind of finished copy of sorts that I was very graciously gifted by the publisher. I basically signed up and there was no guarantee that you would get it, but, like, I just was one of the lucky ones who did. And I devoured this book. This is, I think I told you a little bit what it's about, but it's a YA fantasy that follows a girl named Sparrow as she goes on an adventure in a world that's unkind to her because she is wheelchair bound because of a heart condition that she has. But the magic system is really fascinating. Like, do you see, I tabbed the book, and, like, I usually tab books when there are, like, romantic scenes or cute scenes and things like that, but this is primarily blue and green, which are plot things and like conversations or sentences, like writing things that stick out to me, and that's what's mostly in here, and I love it. I need to read you, hold on, I'm gonna read you the first sentence because that's, from the first sentence I was already hooked. So it says, my days usually begin with thwarting an attempt at kidnapping. Excuse me. So she lives in a glade with a bunch of different fairies, gnomes, imps, trolls, other people, but they're all called fairies, like that's the general term for everybody. And trolls really like to make changelings, so they take this, I think it's so fascinating, they take sticks from an elder tree and they create this like wooden heart that you can see here on the cover and embed it with magic, and it takes on the form of either a troll or a human baby, usually a human baby, where they'll leave the changeling with the human family and then take the human with them, and so it's kind of like a copy. And so they spend their days basically trying to stop trolls from doing that and protecting their little town from the evil nightmare called Black Anise. And then a mistake happens and there's like the terrible things happen in where she lives, and so she has to go on an adventure with her half-goblin friend Rush. I wanted to show you, the publisher's also the artist and like the person who did the cover, and she created these two postcards of our main characters. So this is Sparrow and this is Rush. I'm trying to like show you without the glare. And so he's half-goblin, so I don't know if you can tell, but he's got like green spots here and in his cheeks a little bit, so like there you go, you can kind of see it there. But I use these as bookmarks because I thought they were so pretty. But I loved them. I loved their friendship. I loved the characters in this book, the side characters, like even the villains. Like there's a couple of like boogeymen, so like Black Anise, and then there's this person named Jenny Green something that shows up later in the book. And they were terrible humans, but they're so fascinating, and everything in here is based on some sort of like mythology or ancient nightmare kind of, you know, story that kind of gets passed down through the ages. And so I liked seeing her take these magical things and make them her own. I liked seeing, you know, the representation. Obviously I can't really speak on how accurate the representation is, but I would say it's relatively accurate considering that like our author has gone through the same thing that this character has gone through. The author is wheelchair bound herself because I believe of a heart condition, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong on that. And just talked a lot about like disability and being seen as weak because of this disability. So there's a lot of good conversations in here about that. And I just think it was beautiful to see this story, and I love these characters beyond belief. And this is a journey narrative. So like, you know, you're going through something, and I usually don't like those types of stories where like they're going on an adventure, but like most of the book is them actually getting to the place that the adventure is happening at. And I usually don't like things like that. And I like devoured every second of this book. So I think this might be part of a series. I'm not sure if it's going to be like a companion series, but I've heard whispers of possible other books by this author, so she's got a fan in me. I will read everything that she ever writes. I adore this so much. 5 stars. I mean, I don't think that it's very obvious, but I gave it 5 stars. So this is one of the side quests, and that's going to be the one that's the author that is new to me. Yeah, the book from an author that is new to me, so I got 10 more points for this one. And I seriously adore it. Like, if anything I said sounds remotely interesting to you, I would highly recommend. Like, it is, I'm kind of on a high right now, and it's my favorite of the month so far. And I would not be surprised if it made it onto my favorites of the year, if I'm being honest. So it's out now. Go get yourself a copy. It's on Amazon, both physically and on like Kindle, but also on the publisher's website. So like, please do yourself a favor and pick it up because it's so good. Those are the 3 that I finished, and then I have made some progress in Dial A for Aunties. I'm about 112, 115 pages. I'm in the middle of chapter, oh, I don't know, 13. So this has been really fun. It's been hard to get into. I don't know what it is. If I'm like, I have this feeling of like I'm about to get into a slump, and we can't do that. That can't happen. So I'm hoping, like, I was kind of putting off reading this, and then when I'm actually reading it, I'm very much enjoying it. So it's one of those weird situations. I will say with this book, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief a lot, because the situations our characters are getting into are these ridiculously comedic situations, except for it's all about a dead body. So, like, it's real weird, and a lot of the things that, like, this family does and the situations this family has gotten into would never happen, or someone would have figured it out at this point, and so it's ridiculous. But these 4 aunts and our main character Madeline all own this kind of company. They're called the Chens. I think it's just called the Chens. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the actual company is called. But they each do something for a wedding. So, like, she's the photographer. She's got an aunt who does the cakes, her mom does the flowers, an aunt who is the entertainment, aka the singer, and then an aunt who does hair and makeup. And so they come as kind of like a package deal, and so you get all of those things if you hire this family. And so they're going to a private island to do a wedding, and she has a blind-ish date the night before, and it ends terribly, and so they have to deal with this while they're trying to put on the wedding. Oh, and also a guy shows up from her past that she has had feelings for, and his name is Nathan, and 115 pages in, I love him. He's my favorite. And we've got, where I am in the story, he literally just showed back up. So we see him for the first time in present day. It's set in multiple parts. So, like, I'm now in part 2, but in part 1, it flips back and forth from present day to, like, when she was in college, because that's when she and Nathan kind of knew each other. So you see this idea and their past, you know, friendship and relationship, and then also, like, at the same time, what is happening present day wise with this blind date. And I liked that we had that past, that we could kind of see this relationship, but I think it took away, because, like, you'd have this chapter and then you'd be like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And then we'd switch back to the past and you're building this relationship that I haven't become invested in yet. So I don't know what the right way to do that is. I don't know if it's like you do all the past at the very, very beginning and then you get into the story, or you do the story and then you do a section on the past before you get to the, like, when they come to the private island. I don't know, but, like, the way they did it back and forth didn't work for me. Or maybe they the author should have just put, like, a couple of the present day chapters together and then gone to the past for a couple of chapters and then back to the present. I don't know. It was just, like, it was that, like, jarring taking me out of the story when we went to the past. Did I appreciate the moments in the past? Yes, because it did, like I said, build up that relationship so that when Nathan shows back up, I already love him. But it was just kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of jarring. So I think I'm at a part now, because I was flipping through and I don't see any past moments again, at least not for quite a while. I don't think I see any, but if I do, it's not for a while. And so we can actually, like, get into the story. So I'm excited. I will finish this first next week for sure. Dadgummit, I'm gonna do it. I've been reading this for 4 weeks now. So this is the one and only one that I'm taking into next week with me, but I have full intentions of finishing it. I think I've got a little under 4 hours left in the audiobook, so I can definitely get through this no problem. And now I'm in it. You know, like, now I care. So that's kind of my rambly thoughts of what happened this week. It's very much, like, work based, so yeah, I hope something turned out okay. I hope this was somewhat entertaining. I don't know, this one probably sucked a whole lot, but I hope you enjoyed regardless. As always, please let me know down below if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, or how your reading so far in April has gone. I would love to know if you're participating in the readathon. Have you completed everything for your career yet? But let me know how you did. I'm sure many of you are well on your way to finishing all of the prompts, but let me know. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd like to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all of that out, and I will see you guys in my next video.